Have you ever seen a goblet with an inlaid design? Today we're turning a very special goblet with an inlaid Christian cross. Make sure you stick around to the end to see why this process started at the drill press and bandsaw. This goblet's been about 10 years in the making. I've had different ideas and different designs and many fails along the way. So let's see if we can get this one to hold together. I've got the turning blank mounted here in between centers. It's about 9 inches overall and it's about 3 inches square. We've got our inlay component already in here. So the first thing we need to do is just get this down to a cylinder and put a tenon down here where at the tailstock end. Got our parting tool just to create a tenon. Got our caliper set for our chuck jaws. Got our blank rough down to a cylinder, mounted in our chuck jaws with a tenon. So the next thing I want to do is just kind of mark out some of the critical measurements on our blank. We're going to shape the cup just a little bit, add just a little bit of shape to our cup, and then we will start hollowing the cup itself. So there's just a couple of these points I want to get in here at this point. So basically just the top of the cup, the bottom of the cup, and then where the transition starts into the stem. So with these points marked out here, I'm just going to connect these lines. We're going to use the skew chisel to create a couple V-notches at these points so we don't lose track of our marks. And then we'll work up here and start the shape of our cup at the top of our goblet. We're not going to turn all of the cup, and we're not going to start on the stem yet. So let's just kind of get our markings set here. All right, we're going to start working on the shape of the cup just a little bit. I'm going to start with my bowl gouge. I'm just looking to start the shape just a little bit. Up here at the top, I don't really want to remove much material. I just kind of want to smooth it off. I've got a rough diameter I'm shooting for right here, and we're pretty close to that. All I want to do here at this point really is just kind of smooth, kind of blend this in just a little. I'll get our shape. We'll actually come back and refine the shape once we've hollowed a little bit. And I just want to start right there on that. Get rid of that line. The next step is to hollow out the cup on our goblet. We're going to use a Forstner bit. This Forstner bit's around 1.5 inches in diameter. So we're going to use it. I've already got a spot mark down here where we want basically where the depth. I've got the depth measured here. So we're going to bore this out with the Forstner bit, and then we'll come back and kind of finish hollowing and get the inside of our goblet all situated. For drilling, we don't need it to be super fast. We've got the bulk of our cup hollowed out here with our Forstner bit. Before we start hollowing out the rest, I just want to get down here. I want to work down here to my line, which is going to be the top of my cup. I've just got my small bowl gouge out here, and we're just going to remove this material out here on the top. I want to take really light passes as I do this. I don't want to over leverage. I don't want to over leverage my tenon. So we're just going to take some light passes here and work away this excess material up here at the top. Okay, once I've got that edge, now I'm just going to put a little mark here. That's really where I want to hollow to for the most part. We've got the top of our goblet identified here, so I'm just going to use this small hollowing tool, and we're just going to work down the edge until we get out here to the wall thickness we're looking for. We want it to be a little less than 1/4 of an inch is what we're shooting for. So we're just going to use this. We're going to take really light passes. We're relatively far away. We've got a pretty good distance here from our tenon, so we don't want to put too much pressure and throw this thing across the shop. At least we're going to try not to do that. We've got the inside of the cup all hollowed out, so while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and sand the inside of our cup so it's pretty much ready to go and ready for finish once we're done here. Okay, we've got the inside of the cup ready to go for the most part. It's hollowed out, sanded. So we're going to finish our shaping here on the cup and then start working down to working down the stem and also the base. Up here on the cup, all I want to do, all I'm looking for is I want a slight taper down from about the cross down to the lip. So I've just got my spindle gouge. I don't want to take off much material here, just a little bit. I'm just adding a little bit of shape. We're going to go back the other direction, adding a little bit of shape down here, and then right down here we'll start shaping the bottom of the cup into the stem. So I want one more pass there on that. We're going to narrow that down just a little bit more. We're going to use this material right here to kind of create a joint between the cup and the stem. But what I want to do first is work away some of this material that'll ultimately be the stem. So I'm going to start working this down from about the middle of the stem back toward the cup. And here I'm just going to use my bowl gouge.
I'm working on the transition between the cup of the goblet and the stem while I'm also getting rid of the waste material for the stem. It's important to work from the tailstock end back toward the headstock and not reduce the diameter of the stem too quickly so that we don't run into a problem if we have a catch.
goblet is taking shape here. So what I want to do at this point is just to go back to my rough dimensions here. And now that we're starting to get a little closer to our stem, I just want to take and get some marks here. What we're going to do here, this part right here will be a bead. We're going to have a little fillet or fillet right here, a little flat spot. That'll be on both the top and bottom side of the bead. And then this is actually shaping up pretty nice. This element here, this is where I want the bottom of this element to be, and it will smooth that right back into the stem. The stem's going to be a little bit wider than 3/4 of an inch, a little over 3/4 is what we're shooting for. We're not quite down to the diameter we want here, but we're going to get there pretty quickly.
Now we're going to start working on the details for our stem. We're going to start with our parting tool. And here we're just trying to establish the fillet or the flat spot on both the top and bottom of the bead. We've got our calipers dialed in so we can get the diameter just where we want it. And now that we've got those in place, we're just going to roll a bead right here in the middle of our stem. And we're just going to kind of patiently work from one side to the other, using our detailed spindle gouge here and trying to make sure we don't get a catch as we're working on these final details. Now we'll just finalize the shape of our bead and we'll be in pretty good shape. With our bead in good order, we're just going to fix the fillet, and then we're going to start working on the base. So here we're just removing some of that excess material, and we're just going to get that, we just want to sweep from the foot of the goblet and then get that stem connected just under that fillet. So for this cut, I'm using a 3/8 inch bowl gouge. Finally, it's just a skew chisel as a scraper just to refine the base.
All the turning completed for our goblet. Next, we just need to sand. So I've got my respirator out, the dust collection ready to go. We're going to be running the lathe in reverse. So we'll get this thing sanded up through the grits and we'll be ready to finish our goblet. In the opening montage of this video, I showed a couple of clips, one with the bandsaw behind me and the other with the drill press back in the back of the shop. So what in the world do those two clips have to do with turning a goblet here at the lathe? Well, those are critical steps in how I get the inlay into the cup here on the goblet. At the bandsaw, I'm basically taking a cylinder that I've created with the cross embedded in it, and I'm just cutting that off at about 1 inch. So I'm making basically like a checker. My cylinder is 1.5 inches in diameter. And then back at the drill press, I'm taking a Forstner bit and drilling 1.5 inch hole into the blank before we turn it, where I know I want the cup to be. So then we just glue, basically we take that little checker piece with the cross in it and glue it into the blank. And then we've got our inlay into the blank, and then once we turn the goblet, we're all set. Now, in order to get the cross into the cylinder, I actually start out with a square first. So I start out with a square turning blank that's roughly 2 inches by 2 inches square, and I usually make those about 12 or so inches long. That way I can make multiple goblets with one set of inlay. It's a very similar process I've seen other wood turners use when they're making designs for segmented rings for vases and bowls. So I'm using the same concept. All I'm doing is taking and I'm turning that down, that square, I'm turning that down into a cylinder, and then we're gluing basically these cylinder shapes into our blanks. If you like creating projects with contrasting natural colors like I do, check out this series we've got on segmenting. That's a great way to add contrasting colors to different projects, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there.